Welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because this explainer, it's going to lay down the definitive blueprint for our Smart Wallet architecture module. If you've been following along with our Introduction to Smart Wallets course, you probably remember that in our previous lesson, we really got our hands dirty. We looked at the raw mechanics of blockchain interactions and transaction flow, basically how the data actually moves under the hood. But today, we're zooming out. We're looking at the grand schematic. We are designing the account abstraction layer.
Okay, let's dive right into this architectural roadmap. First up, we'll cover the missing wallet link, then move into the three rings model. After that, we'll look at dividing the responsibilities, choosing your fee rails, balancing speed and trust, and finally, future-proofing the design.
So, Section 1, the missing wallet link, and exactly why we need account abstraction.
To really understand why this layer is so crucial, we have to face a pretty cold, hard truth about direct blockchain interactions. Raw transactions are they're incredibly messy. I mean, anyone who has ever watched a transaction drop into the mempool and just vanish into the ether knows the exact existential dread I'm talking about. You've got nonces to babysit, gas limits fluctuating all over the place, and a whole spectrum of rage-inducing failure modes. Your user just wants to tap send 10 tokens, but the blockchain, it's this rigid, unforgiving vault that only speaks in strict sequence numbers and exact cryptographic limits. There's just this massive gap between pure user intent and rigid blockchain reality.
So the crucial point is that we absolutely need a middleman. Enter the account abstraction layer. I want you to think of this layer as the ultimate middle manager or, maybe the VIP bouncer at a really exclusive club. It sits right there between the client and the blockchain. Its entire job is to check the IDs, validate the policies, pay the cover charge, or the gas fees in this case, and orchestrate the whole process so that the client UI doesn't have to sweat any of it. By centralizing all this complex logic here, we keep the wallet client beautifully thin and focused entirely on a seamless user experience.
Moving right along to Section 2, the three rings model.
To really visualize how this middle manager operates, it helps to picture three concentric rings. On the outer ring, we've got the client UX and ephemeral keys. This is where user intent is captured, right? It's fast, it's flexible, and it's completely user-facing. In the middle ring, we have our account abstraction and policy layer. This is our orchestrator. It manages the sequencing, enforces the rules, and handles the fees. And finally, the inner ring. That's the blockchain execution and finality. This is the bedrock. It is highly deterministic, completely permissionless, and final. Keeping these rings conceptually separate means we know exactly where every single piece of logic should live.
Section 3. Dividing responsibilities, or the separation of concerns.
Now that we know our rings, how do we actually assign the day-to-day jobs in this blueprint? And this brilliantly illustrates just how clean that division is. The wallet client handles user intent capture and local signing. And honestly, that is its entire world. The account abstraction layer, however, takes on all the heavy lifting. We're talking heavy policy enforcement, nonce sequencing, which totally saves you from those nasty race conditions and double spends, and coordinating fee sponsorship. The real magic of this blueprint is that your complex policy logic doesn't accidentally leak into the user interface. The UI stays snappy, and the abstraction layer handles the bureaucratic nightmare of sequencing and gas limits in the background.
Section 4. Choosing your fee rails.
Look, nothing moves on a blockchain without someone paying for it. You generally have three main payment rails to choose from, and they each come with their own distinct engineering trade-offs. The first is user pays. Now, this is highly transparent, sure, but the friction is brutal because the user literally has to hold native gas tokens. The second is the sponsor relayer model. This is where the magic of account abstraction really shines for UX. The app developer pays the gas on behalf of the user, making it feel totally seamless, but it does require your abstraction layer to handle off-chain accounting and crediting. Finally, we have deferred settlement, things like meta transactions. It allows for incredible batched efficiency, but introduces counterparty and liquidity risks. The real beauty of a well-designed abstraction layer, though, is that you can build a pluggable fee adapter interface. This lets your wallet effortlessly switch between these relayers without you having to rewrite the core logic.
Which brings us to Section 5, balancing speed and trust. In systems engineering, there are literally no perfect solutions, only trade-offs. So where do you actually enforce your policies? If you push authorization to the middle ring and do off-chain policy enforcement, you get incredible speed. It's low latency, and users absolutely love it. But you increase the trust surface. The user has to trust that your abstraction layer won't be compromised. On the flip side, if you push those checks all the way down to the inner ring with on-chain checks, you achieve maximum trustless auditability. It is incredibly secure, but that comes at the cost of high latency and high gas fees. Ultimately, you have to choose your enforcement venue based entirely on your specific threat model.
Now, what's really interesting about this next point is this specific number, 200. In the world of mobile UI design, 200 milliseconds is your absolute maximum latency budget for UI blocking tasks.
Let's break that budget down a bit. From 0 to 200 milliseconds, you're fine to block the UI for synchronous tasks. It feels instantaneous. But between 200 and 800 milliseconds, the user definitely starts to notice the lag. So you need a background spinner to assure them the app hasn't just frozen. And anything over 800 milliseconds, you are firmly in the territory of heavyweight on-chain confirmations, and you have got to handle that asynchronously so you don't completely ruin the click-to-confirm flow. This budget dictates everything about your abstraction layer. If an off-chain risk-scoring check takes 300 milliseconds, you simply cannot make it a UI blocking task. You have to design the architecture around human perception.
Section 6. Future-proofing the design.
The only constant in Web3 is that external dependencies will eventually break. It's just a fact. What happens when your relayer network goes down? And let's face it, it's going to happen exactly when you launch your biggest campaign. Well, a smartly designed abstraction layer has a graceful degradation path. Check out this fallback sequence. Step 1, the gas sponsor service fails. Step 2, your abstraction layer catches the error and automatically switches over to a user pays mode. Step 3, it notifies the thin client to prompt the user for fee approval. The wallet doesn't crash, it just safely downgrades the user experience. By implementing versioned APIs, you ensure that your older clients survive and remain functional even when internal logic or external relayer networks go totally dark.
If you take away nothing else, remember this golden rule. Separate policy from presentation to avoid inconsistent client behavior. Keep the client focused purely on capturing the user's intent and let the abstraction layer handle the messy reality of the blockchain. As you continue exploring these principles further through the learning tracks and courses at Forge College, you'll see firsthand how mastering this separation of concerns is exactly what separates a fragile prototype from a truly enterprise-grade smart wallet.
So, I want to leave you with a somewhat provocative thought to chew on before our next lesson on architecture patterns. How will your abstraction layer handle the next relayer outage? Is it going to fail gracefully, or will it leave your users staring in frustration at a frozen screen? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. To learn more about this subject and explore a ton of other fascinating Web3-related topics, be sure to head over to forge.college. I'll catch you in the next explainer.